Oh no, no, now you're good. You're
No,
good.
I was sitting there like
I can't
that.
imagine you can sit that still. That was pretty
I
amazing,
was.
actually.
I'm pretty patient
I
when it
mean,
needs to be.
I
So
thought you had a stroke.
no, I
Let's
did
see if Mike
not.
can get this link.
Well, so for the listeners and the viewers, obviously the last couple of weeks has been technical difficulties on my end, and we found out it's my end. So we're fixing that. So hopefully we're going to go through and it'll be a little bit smoother. We're going to try to re-record or redo last week's episode because we watched the Outlaws versus Seminoles from what was it? What 2009? We figured or eight.
That was not. See, I was with the Seminoles. Nine, I think. I think nine.
Okay.
10. I was
So,
with
anyways,
the Outlaws. Yeah.
15 plus years ago, and it was a heck of a game. Our third host Dom got ejected, so that was always fun to watch. Brent swears up and down he threw a punch.
I admitted by the end that he did not, but it looked like it on film.
It did look like it. He got and it's tough to tell on film, but when you watch it kind of live, like he got lit up, like he got hit, and it's one of those hits where your body just goes like limp.
It
Um,
was a big hit.
and it was a big hit. It was fun watching that. I mean, I got to go through honestly and look at some other ones that you and I will at least appreciate. Wouldn't have been in them, but
I'm getting quite a few put on a drive right now. It wasn't done. I checked today. Um,
okay.
there's some 11 man, some 8 man. There's a radio commercial. There is yeah. There's there. Hopefully it ends when I told them when the game ends, end the tape.
Yeah.
After some
You
of
don't
the stories we've had up.
Yeah,
So
don't want to
um,
pull one of those. I was looking through some old pictures last night in the basement, and I found a couple. I actually found so funny enough because who we have coming on. There was a year we played 11 man when myself, Dan, Businger, Cody, we all played for the Twin City Storm for a couple games. I don't know if you remember that or if
I
you
did
even
not
remember
even.
being
I
offered
didn't
that.
know that. What
Yeah.
year would that have
So
been, Tony?
before you played for the Steel.
Oh, I
So
didn't know.
what
I
year?
didn't know. I had no idea.
Yeah. What year did you play for the Steel?
It was 05. That was
So then this must have
2005.
been '04. This must have been '04. But we went and played, and we ended up actually going to play frickin' Belleville again, which turned out just as bad the second time as the first time.
That's a nice
Um,
prize. Yeah.
yeah.
To, you know.
But
Um,
all I remember is we drove to uh, Peoria probably 10 times, not 15, probably
oh
10
yeah.
times in 2 weeks to play. Um, and ended up the one game got canceled, and then we ended up going down to Belleville to play. But it was essentially the same thing that you did with Steel, where it was like that next the postseason, whatever it was, the mid state, not mid states, maybe it was the mid states playoffs or whatever, because we were out, and so it was kind of that next level of playing. But the Storm at that point they were pretty good. Um, they weren't terrible. Like Chris
So,
Hummel was playing.
yeah. So let's think about the old North of the Midwest Football League, right? So Lafayette,
Yep.
right? We've talked about them. Generally, they were the team that came out of the North. I mean,
Yes.
but right behind them, Outlaws, Storm, Steel. Jacksonville struggled. But
Right.
that was the North Division of that, if I'm not mistaken. And what's crazy is, I mean, I remember we were kind of in this. The Outlaws were kind of in the second place, and the Storm and the Steel would fight out for third and fourth, which was what made the '05 season for the Steel so amazing. Because
Yeah.
trust me, it wasn't me. They didn't even. Troy Helton didn't even play a lot because they had an amazing linebacker core. They needed a few linemen, but that team just, I think, they shocked everybody. It was pretty
Yeah.
amazing.
Well, and they always had. I mean, we'll talk about it with Coach when he gets on here, but like
Yeah,
offensively, they were always tough. Like you
they
had
were.
to you had to go
Yes,
blow for blow.
we
You
had
had to
one
score
score games.
points.
We had one score games with every one of those teams every year.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe one
Yeah.
of the two would go one way, but I mean those. I mean that was that's like every year there's some NFL conference that puts three teams in the playoffs, right? And I
Right.
mean that's what that was like.
Yeah.
And then the South at the time, Belleville, right?
Belleville.
Effingham struggled a little, but they were, a medium. They beat us.
They beat it, right?
Dupo, right?
And I don't remember ever playing Dupo.
I think we missed them. There was maybe still a 1 year overlap in the years the Bucks led up to that 03 when the Outlaws started. Dupo was the team. They were on the cover of a Rawlings magazine with their players,
Really?
pitching the year. That's a true story. Yeah.
Wow.
And they were good. Cougars, right? The Central Illinois.
And we
Cougars.
never. You played a few games for them. I remember playing them more in 8-man. Like it wasn't the Cougars, but it was the nucleus of the team was playing 8-man. But I never played an 11-man game against them.
Yeah, I want to say that I'd have to look back at the old schedule. I guess the North and the South really did have a pretty big split because, if you're playing 4 teams home and away, that's 8, and
right.
You couldn't go, the year of the Steel won it, they I guess won 17 games, but you couldn't go 15 games in the semi-pro season unless it was playoffs and moving forward, at some point.
I was looking at the Foxes in 2012 when the Foxes ended up losing the national championship game to Racine. They only played 13 games. That was the 13th game, and they had a few, and I can't remember because I played quite a few of those games. There was maybe one cancellation, maybe, and then but I mean it was also, I remember that was one of those seasons where we played the Lincoln Way Patriots. It was like we played the Lincoln Way Patriots week 9, and then the first round of the playoffs played the Lincoln Way Patriots again. So it was like
that was a good squad
things.
too. I mean, that was Sherry's team. Dan Peters, I think, played up there. Rest of his soul.
They had some good dudes. They had a couple. And we'll talk about it at some point when we get Drew on here. But I remember that. I remember that regular season game we played them. We were down 24-6 at halftime and came back to win 38-24. And I kid you not, the ball for us in the second half, the ball never touched the ground. We did not throw an incomplete pass, no fumbles, and we just came out and just worked them. I mean, we had like 600 yards of offense, and that's why my mic's not working. I got the wrong damn thing plugged in.
I can hear you fine, though. I mean, I don't know how.
I know you got me through my computer.
Yeah, it sounds a little rough.
So
the minute you fix it, we're done.
Right.
Probably.
I know. I
did get I got a text back from Tumbleson that he's on his way.
He's in. He's in.
There he is. Coach T's in.
Yeah, he's right here.
I love it, dude.
All right, let's see if my mic works a little bit better now.
You sound better.
How's that?
It's a little loud, but it sounds better. It's better quality.
Okay, good.
Now that's good. That's perfect.
Okay. I'm a little loud. You got a lot of nerve there, Brent.
I mean, it's
I know.
You got the earphones on. You can't hear yourself. I mean, how it goes, right?
I know. Coach T, you're muted right now. If you can unmute yourself.
Oh, we got video coming too.
There we go.
God, I hope that's a face.
I don't know what I got going on here.
Hey,
I can hear you clear.
Yeah.
It's like I'm a ghost.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what's up with
you
your
sound
camera.
great. We can hear you fine, so that's good.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on here. I'm a technically challenged, so let me see if I can.
Well, whatever that wasn't good, but you're clear when that noise isn't going on. I feel like I feel, Tony, that view, I feel like I'm in the birth canal and getting ready to be born. There's just a tiny skin-colored light at the end here, and it's a dark circle around it. And
Oh man!
I was definitely hoping it was a face.
It's a brand new laptop, so I'm thinking there's some plastic on it or something.
Could be.
Did you buy a brand new laptop just for this cast, Coach?
No, there we go.
There he is. I did not know the beard had come around, man.
Yeah, I actually COVID, I couldn't get a haircut, and I basically, it's about 5 inches past my shoulder. I just said, hell with the world. I'm not cutting my hair.
Wow. Are you still have it that long?
Yeah, it's
you got to pull
back here. I could unleash the Raven here, but
that's awesome.
Yeah, yeah, high and tight all my coaching career, and quit coaching, and COVID hit, and I'm like, I'm not cutting it. Hell with the world.
Well,
I tell you what, I tried to do that at one point too, and it gets terrible. Like the Jufro comes out, and I say that affectionately. It just goes like thick. It doesn't ever get long. It just grows thick. So
we would be so the opposite, Tony. Mine comes out, and it was long. I went from the very first year of football, the Dutch boy growing it out, to then full on ponytail. It would get caught in the helmet because I didn't have a pad in one in the back of it. But it was so straight. It was like Native American. I mean, it was so straight. It came straight down. It was like Native American hair. I was the only 300-pound native around.
Yeah,
yeah,
you could pretend you're a Samoan, but
I wasn't bad enough. I wasn't tough enough.
I see the jersey back there, Brent. So I'm gonna pan around here. I don't know if you can see all those helmets or not.
wow.
Yep. Tony's got blurred, but he had a couple up. I've got some of my important ones.
I've got some. My wife's been talking about framing a few jerseys for me. We've got a couple kind of that I've got put aside. I got a nice one from the Foxes, and then obviously the couple outlaw ones, but just haven't done it yet. So
I got 4 of them boxed, and I'm not kidding you. There are probably 8 on just this coat rack hanger behind me, behind that jacket. I mean, and I do have them all the way back to the 1994 Sangamo Express. It's awesome. Crazy. I mean, it's nice. So, Coach, before you got on, we were talking about the old Midwest Football League North Division, and I got to hear your history of getting in. I mean, we played the Steel for a couple years before you coached.
Yep.
Played them the Outlaws were done, but they continued to play maybe a few after. But we talked about how it seemed like in the early 2000s, that was a very tight division. Games were a touchdown across the board. Lafayette generally came out on top, but that second group of Outlaws, Storm, Steel, just beat each other up all year. And then, building up to that 05 season, just tell us your background and what made you get into semi-pro.
Well, I was down in 2001, moved to Florida, 31-ish, and just still had that itch to play. And so I think what made it go a little more of an itch is this hot girlfriend I had, smoking hot girlfriend, decided she wanted, that's just the ultimate motivator to get back in the weight room. So
yeah,
smoking hot girl wants to move back to Iowa. She, I'm the manager of a Ford store. I got nothing to do. And my buddy's like, hey, here's a semi-pro tryout. Why not try it? I'm like, dude, I'm 31. These guys are 21, 22. These guys are, they're badasses, and they had, mincemeat out of me. And he's like, oh, I just thought I'd, throw it at you. So I go there, I check it out, talk to the coach. And this is a long story. I'll make the short version, but I moved my dining room table and chairs into the garage. I had like a condo type thing. And as a manager of a Ford store, I thought, okay, we're not worried about entertaining. I'm going to put a squat rack and we're going to get back to work. So I trained for like 2 months before this season. And the great thing is when you play in your 30s, as you know, you're technically way superior to kids that are 20 and 21. Even if we had kids on the team from Florida University, there was a kid, D tackle. He was a nose tackle. He was 6'6". I mean, this dude was a monster. He was like 320, was from Clemson on our team. So me being, 6'2", 200 and probably 60 pounds of, mostly overweight, no six pack whatsoever. So I started doing, before the Atkins was the Atkins, I started doing all meat. We were eating a little bit of fruit, and I'm training. I hired a guy, paid him, $300. Was it $50? It was $600 a month. And this dude gave me a diet that he gave the University of Florida. And basically it was, the only carbs were like hash browns and like baked potatoes and salad. I said, hey, can I have a salad instead of this cup of broccoli at every meal? And he's like, yeah, you can eat 8 salads, or you can have 1 cup of broccoli. I'm like, okay, I guess I'm having a cup of broccoli. Yeah. So I trained, listen to this guy for, I think 45, 60 days, and literally lost 28 pounds in the first 30 days. Got in the best shape of my life. I'm playing center, and and I wanted to play DN because I was always a defensive end. And of course, we had a kid that was 6'5", 240. His name was Tony Richardson, and this kid was a stud. I mean, he had 4.5 speed and legit strong as a bull. I wasn't unseating him, so I thought I'd try to get the other guys out.
Those
And
are the
so
guys. Those are the guys that turn us into offensive linemen, coach.
Yeah,
exactly.
right.
Those are the guys.
100%. So the other guy was really good, but I mean, I was really, with the hands, I was really, I've been coaching. I don't know how many years I'd coached high school. So, I mean, I was so used to training people that I literally it was so easy to manipulate, some of those guys. And so he wouldn't let me play DN. So finally I'm like, hey, you said, coach, that if anybody wanted to call anybody out, he goes, you're already starting. I'm like, yeah, but I want to start both ways, So I call this guy out, and I go one-on-one with our left tackle, and I knew he was a bigger guy. He was probably 6'5", 300, and I knew this guy would eat me up strength-wise. So the first thing I do, he says, all right, you're going to get 5 chances, Tumbleson. If you get through 3, you're starting DN. I'm like, done. So this guy was all conference, and I knew I probably couldn't beat him, but I thought this is going to come down to smarts, has nothing to do with strength because I'm going to lose. So the first time I go at him, I'm outside, line up on the outside, right defensive end. I go smash right into him, helmet to helmet, hard as I can. It's a stalemate. Okay, well, now mentally I got him because he's going to think I'm coming hard. So the next time I go at him, I spin, do a 360. He catches air. I'm in the backfield grabbing the coach. So then it's 1-to-1. So I'm like, all right, we got a chance. So then I set up real hard to the outside. I slap the shoulder, do the old rip technique underneath. I met the coach again. So the same thing happened the next time, except I go hard inside and spin back out. I'm there 4 out of 5 times, or 3 out of the first 4. And he says, all right, Tumbleson, you're starting. So that was I only played 1 year with the Gainesville Thunder, but it was really cool because I got to be all conference center and Team USA. I mean, you talk about, winning the lottery because I had no business playing on Team USA. You know me, Brent. I'm a great guy, good coach, but I'm not.
They're always looking for O-lineman, coach. Did you get to play DN for them?
They wanted me to try out, so I go down to Orlando. I try out, and the cool thing was the Texas A&M coach in 2002 was like big into shotgun before like it is now, just spread everywhere.
Right.
So I go out there and I'm snapping every snap. Boom, I'm hitting my thigh. Every one of them's a spiral back to the starting quarterback. And so like this other dude was okay, but I mean, mine were just boom, boom, boom. So now I'm starting center, Team USA. We're flying to the Bahamas. I'm 32 years old and I'm living this dream. Like I'm playing for Team USA.
That's
so cool. It was pretty cool. I got the Team USA jersey. We went down there and it was, it was a blast. I had a couple, Bohemian guys that weren't too happy with me because I had a bad expulsion in my neck, my 7th and 8th vertebrae. They rubbed. There's no gel in there from playing at Illinois State and playing high school. And I didn't listen to the coaches. I speared a lot of people. I'll be honest with you. So when my first time I snapped the ball, this Bohemian, I think that's what you call the Bahamas guys, he comes across and you're not supposed to touch the center and just absolutely just kills my neck. So I'm like, okay, dude, you're supposed to stay off the center. And he's like, yeah, man, he's just in my face. So I thought, okay, man, I got you. The next time we score on a nice little slant play, we go to do the extra point. And what do? The same thing he does to me, illegal. I'm going to be illegal. So the old lineman in me, I cut this guy right on the shin, right below the kneecap. He flips upside down, gets up, and wants to fight me. And I said a few choice words, something about doing his mom the night before. So anyway, that was the end of the short playing career. I come back in 2003 from Florida, and then I start hearing about the semi-pro thing and this and that. So I believe it was December of 2004. I talked to Wendell, who was the owner, and Ronnie Foster, the all-American stud there, wide receiver. He's played at Northwestern, and he and 3 other guys, we sat down at, I believe, Hooters, which wasn't my choice, but I didn't mind it. And that's
the semi-pro restaurant, though. I think most semi-pro meetings are done at a Hooters. So that's
how many documents have been signed at Hooters and witnessed by a Hooters waitress many times.
Yeah, it's all about the not being distracted. That's what it's all about.
Right.
So they sit down and they do my first interview, as a head coach, and they start the meeting by, I don't know if they were trying to intimidate me, but I mean, I was a little bit like, oh, geez, I felt like I was going into a firing squad. They're like, well, our coach the last 2 years is John Johnson. He was Brett Favre's quarterback coach. He's arena football coach for the Peoria Pirates. And he was this, so basically I'm like telling, okay, so I don't have a chance, okay, I'll take the job. They just built him up to be this offensive guru. And I'm just sitting there listening to this and I'm thinking, Well, last time I checked, I didn't think you guys made the playoffs the last 2 years. You guys may chuck it 45 times a game, but
Right.
I grew up, tight end right, tight end left, I formation. We're going to jam it down your throat. And right when we get done running 6 yards a clip, we're going to hit you with a play action for a touchdown or to the tight end. That's just how I grew up in high school. So that was my interview. And I basically went in there, I'll be honest with you. Most of the hot women in my life were secured by my mouth and not my probably my athletic ability. So I went in there and I just told them if they weren't there to win a national championship, then I didn't want the job. And they were like, national championship, we want to get into a playoff game. And I was
Right.
like, we're going to be in the playoffs. I mean, that's going to happen. I said, that's 100% going to happen. I said, but here's the thing, Wendell was this and that one. Yeah, I say I've got free control over who we come in. I got free control. I'm the head coach. Nobody tells me, who's going to play and this and that. And I'll be honest with you, we started in January. We went to a gym January 4th, and we had 60, 70 guys in there. And I looked at the guys when we got together, and I said, if you're not here to win an effing national championship, then leave the gym. And I said it very loud and it echoed. And a lot of people looked at me, about, I'd say 58 of them. And they were like, who's this guy? This guy out of his mind, this guy drunk, what's going on?
Did
but
you
I
have
truly
some guys,
believe,
Coach, did you have some guys? I mean, the personnel on that team did change a lot, 04 to 05. I mean, 03 to 05 over those 2 years. And I remember that is something you would say. I was not there for that meeting. I believe it 100%. I wouldn't roll my eyes today. I might have back then, but I'm just going to tell you, did you have some guys in mind then? I mean, me and Tony are playing down at Sprinkle. Were there guys?
I was thinking that I was going to ask that same question, Brent, because obviously this was before Facebook. This was before social media. Like, I'm sure you had to have kind of been doing your research on who was around, maybe who was available.
So I reached out to a couple local colleges, reached out to a few other people. I reached out to people that I knew in the coaching thing, and just word of mouth and just talking to a few coaches. Hey, this guy played for me last year. He played 4 years and Seaman came. He was a safety at ICC, and I don't know if you knew.
IC, right? I mean, it was
I played with Robbie. Yeah, I played with Robbie at Illinois College. Yeah,
Illinois College. That's what it was. Yeah. But I think Robbie was a safety. Is that right? Was he a safety type player?
He was the defensive back. The 3 years I played with him, I don't know what he did his senior year. I'm assuming probably was a defensive back. So
that's what he was, and so. I've always been under the assumption, man. I'm with you guys. You guys, you watch the NFL with me, and it makes me sick when they're subbing 3-4 guys in. And so when I built the defense, my thought process was, here's Robbie Seaman. This guy's a safety in college. This guy's put on some, muscle in the weight room. He's an outside linebacker. I'm going to make him an outside backer, and the other outside backer is going to be the same prototype. Now I'm in a 4-4. I'm going to stick it in your face. You're not going to run the ball. And then, if they want to go 4 wide receivers, there's no subbing it. Hey, Dom, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, Coach, how are you? Good to see you as well.
But anyway, when we never had to sub because the linebackers were, safeties or corners, we bumped them out and we said, okay, now we're in cover 1 and we're going to jam it in your throat again. And you're going to have to beat us over the top.
It also helps when you have a guy like Sean Bell who can do freaking whatever the hell he wants. And
Sean Bell. Sean Bell is a 6'6", 6'7", whatever he is, 260-pound, just freaking nature that, obviously played 3 different NFL teams. And when he played for the Pirates. And so when he wanted to come out and play, he is just a gladiator. And he is, when I say gladiator, I'm not joking. He literally, because he liked money, he would go fight at the Tough Man contest after practice on a Thursday night, and he'd beat up like 2 or 3 people and knock them cold and make like $200. I mean, the guy is a stone cold killer and the best defensive player that I've ever coached. And the cool thing, go ahead.
I was going to say that best defensive player, but he played the damn NFL as a tight end, did he ever play tight end for you?
He did, and that was the cool thing, like especially when we got into like I'm fast forwarding till we got to the playoffs in 05 and we're trying to make a run for a national title. I just knew that there was going to be teams as we got, better and better. There was going to be teams that we couldn't go four wide, or we couldn't run the I formation. We couldn't do things we normally do. So I was a firm believer, if we can get down inside the 10, okay, I got 6'8", 290 or 300-pound Rob Helms. I got Brent Bordenkircher, Earth Mover. I got Jay Ward, who was my tight end. This kid's from the south side of Chicago. He's 6 foot, 260, and deceivingly very fast and great hands. He was the ultimate blocker at tight end. Well, I put Sean Bell at the left end, Jay Ward on the right tight end, and I went 2 tight ends, no receivers, and I formation. I just said, I'm going to shove it in your throat, and there's nothing you can do about it.
I mean, you got Kurt Fisher from McMurray. You know, you've got
6'5",
Ralph Gillespie. 260,
yeah.
You got Ralph. And admittedly, Ralph would even say this. At that point, he was brand new and kind of green, but the dude could still throw up 400 pounds like it was nothing. You know, I mean, the guy, you got Paul Malavolti, converted fireman, who was amazing. For a while, you had Stefik, like a Division III All-Star up in Minnesota.
Yeah, Stefik, man, I forgot about Stefik. That was he was a dude right there.
When he went out to the Casino Bowl, he was the best O-lineman there, and it wasn't close.
I forgot about him.
Amazing. And Kurt Fisher.
Fisher was no slouch either. Yeah.
No, I mean, we had Otto there. We had other guys too. That, you know, Tony Mauder. They were too deep everywhere, and it was a fun line. But I got to tell you, Coach, you know, you talk about this big change from 4 wide to all of a sudden we're running the I. It just coincides with Brian Davis showing up as well.
Yeah, right.
I mean, it just happens to happen that way, right? And you know, and this 4-4, you know, when you got Shane Benson, who, if you lined up 50 guys and asked him which one was the all-league, one of the best linebackers you ever played against, he'd come in 47th, but he was amazing. Shane Benson was amazing.
You know, Shane was a hammer, and that dude was deceivingly quick too, but I mean, he was a run stopper and could drop into coverage. That guy would play literally if you had a broken femur, he would keep playing. But I tell you, with all those great things that I'm anointing him with, the cool thing was I was a defensive guy before I was offensive. And I'd literally be like, yell out there, and I've got hand signals, and I'm like, hey, 4-4 double plug, which is, you know, my 2 inside hands like you're punching someone. So I want both inside backers to fire and my tackles to actually D-tackles grab the guards and turn them towards the tackles. So we're getting basically penetration instantaneously on the center. I'm literally calling this, and he's putting his hand up like, yeah, that's exactly what I was going to call. So he literally was a defensive coordinator in a player's body.
That's always, you know, you're in a good spot when that happens, when you guys are on the same page like that. That's good. That's awesome.
It was special.
So again, I'm trying to match up my timeline. So you had zero association in 03-04, correct? Or 04 was your first year?
05 was my first year.
Okay. Wow. I had no idea, Brent. I had no idea that the John Johnson was the head coach. No clue. Now, of course, I was a young idiot kid who didn't know. You know, all I remember about those Mid-State Steel teams was freaking Kenton Carr. So you know, that's crazy that was kind of the pre you, coach. I had no idea. That's awesome.
And so
honestly,
go ahead, coach. In 04, well, in those years, you lost probably one of the best quarterbacks in the league. You know, Burglar maybe, but Kenton was great. And you lost leading receiver. You know, Crouch wasn't come back, and you replace him with Ronnie Foster and Frierson. I mean, Jesus, man,
Frierson came in 06, which, just throwing this out there, I truly believe 06 we had a better team recruited than 05, and I know that seems hard to believe, but 06 we lost 2 games, and the 2 games we lost to were the Thunder on the road. We took 35 players. Mostly everybody on offense played defense, and it was both ways. It was one of them games where it's semi-pro, you know, guys just don't go. But that one loss put us in the playoffs with the Thunder, who won the national championship in 06. So we literally lost 2 games, the one in the season and then on the road first round. And both times it was 35 and 37. I'm not making excuses. We were better in 06. But being that said, Frierson came in 06, who was Illinois State stud receiver. But I tell you who's our receiving core was obviously, you know, I'll give you a quick backdrop to Ronnie Foster. The first game of the season we play, Milwaukee Marauders, I think they were ranked top 20 in the nation. And I'm all about the I formation, man. We are going to jam it in somebody's face, and we're going to just run it down their throat. Stefik has to work. 4 of my 5 starting offensive linemen were on for the first game. So literally, we have D linemen, second string D linemen, and I just said to the guys, "Hey, without these guys up front, Brian Davis or it don't matter, we can't. The ponies don't run if the horses don't plow." So we decided to go four wide with 1 running back, which I took out my
there you go.
Mark Harris.
Yeah, you got Dom. Dom finally speaks up. You got Dom excited about that
got
one.
him interested.
He heard 4 wide, and he said, "You had me a hello."
Yeah.
Right.
But anyway, we went 4 wide because I just thought we're going to have to chuck it. You know what I mean? So we went 4 receivers and put Brian Davis, as my protector of my quarterback, who's 6'5", 270, and great protector. So basically, the line always stepped to the right. Brian was on the left, and we threw for, I want to say, 450 yards. Ronnie Foster had like 290 receiving and 4 touchdowns. It was insane. But we still lost. We had 3 throws or four throws into the end zone from the 15 or 20 at the end of the game, and we lost like 42-38 or something. It was crazy. But so we lose our first game of the year in 2005, and everybody's like, "Oh, this is devastating." I'm like, "Guys, we played a top 20 team. We had 4 of our 5 offensive linemen gone. We had all this stuff go. We beat that team by 20 if we have our guys there." You know what I mean? So,
right.
And I don't want to get off track here, but I got to get to this point real quick before I forget to bring it up, because this is totally the last dance with Michael Jordan. I'm going to bring some stuff up that some guys are going to get mad, and they're going to see this. And it's this, part of being a coach is I got to bring up this last dance type of stuff, Michael Jordan. So I'm hired to be a coach. I told them we're going to try to win a national title. This is what I want to do. And so right out of the gate, man, we're practicing, and the first games are coming up in the 8-man league, because we were going to have an 8-man team to kind of springboard into the 11-man. And so everybody keeps telling me, and including, Wendell and a few other people, "Hey, the 6 of these guys that started last year on offense and defense, they're sitting. You got them on second team, and they were all league, and I said, "I understand, but they're second string." And they're like, "Well, I'm just telling you, because last year, they were all," I said, "Hey, I heard you the first time. They're second string and they're not playing." So I just was like, I don't care whose buddy is whose buddy. I'm here to win. And if I'm not winning, then I don't want to be here. So I had a lot of guys that wanted to fight me. They wanted me thrown out. It was like, this is some backdrop that I got to get this out, because I feel like a lot of semi-pro teams, probably deal with that, where somebody, the owner or the coach or somebody's buddy, let's be honest. I know all you guys want to win, and, at all costs. And that, what I mean by that is, it doesn't matter whose buddy is this or that. We want to win. Am I wrong?
Right. No, absolutely. That's, I mean, that's, but you're right though. That's the crux of semi-pro football is it's, especially now it's so, I don't want to say diluted, but it's definitely not what it was in those early 2000s. But it's like, hey, Bobby doesn't start for this team, so Bobby's going to go start a new team, and he's going to, it's going to be it's the branch off of the branch off of the branch off. So that's what you get. I mean, we're starting to see that a little bit towards the end of my time, and it's just that's because that's how.
Coach, how did you keep them around? Because I mean, the thing about the Steel that year, once I started showing up, and I mean, it was that you didn't lose any. I don't think you lost any of them, because there were dedicated second teamers every game. They were there, and they were, I mean, guys who would have started on a lot of teams. Tony Mauder, DJ Merrick. I mean,
I'll tell you,
TJ Epi, those guys would have started somewhere.
I'm going to tell you, like TJ and like DJ, who was a backup linebacker at first, these guys, you can ask them. They hated me. They did not like me. And, and I just told them, I had a policy. If you guys feel you are the number 1 quarterback, you're the number 1 receiver, you're the number 1 O lineman, and you think you can beat out the guy, guess what we're doing the first 10 minutes of practice? You want to call somebody out, we're going to do it. We're going to walk over here and we're going to do this drill, and you're either going to be embarrassed or you're going to be starting. Mm-hmm. Well, we didn't really ever have it happen, because people knew I would put them in bad positions and this and that. Well, I had a kid at the Illinois State game. Kenton Carr was the quarterback. And I don't remember, it was the first game of the year. I think we lost that game to Illinois State. It was like a 4-point game or something. And all I remember is in the locker room, I heard a player talking trash, talking shit. Oh yeah, Coach T, I should be starting, da da da. And I'm sitting there listening to all this. My first instinct as a alpha type guy is to walk in there and punch this guy in the mouth and leave him laying there in the shower. But a coach has to set the example and be a good guy. So I walked over to Brian Davis. I said, "Who's in there running their mouth?" And he's like, "It's so and so." And so I'm like, "Okay, no problem." So I said, "Tuesday's practice, we're going to call this out. We're going to find out, if this guy's a starter," which I knew he wasn't a starter. I want him to be a special team player. So he runs his mouth. And so the start of practice, we get 60 guys on a Tuesday practice, in which, that's not often, but we felt like we had something special. And the guys were there Tuesday and Thursday in numbers. So I said to this kid, and I won't mention his name, I said,
another semi-pro. That's another semi-pro. The semi-pro has to Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Yeah. And it's 11 players Tuesday and then 14 on Thursday.
Right. You double
but
it
I will say one thing. We were blessed. We had a lot of numbers, and I tell you, I really felt like I would have a better, what's that show called in the NFL where they have the preseason and everything? It's on HBO. What do they call that?
Oh, Hard Knocks. Hard Knocks.
I'm telling you, our practices would blow the heart. And you know me, Brent, like I would literally confront somebody at halftime and ready to fight them or whatever. But I'll tell you another story in a minute with this Quad City player we picked up that was just talking trash. And I said to Sean Bell and Brian Davis, the two badasses on the team, "I'm going to go over and confront this guy. Please stand behind me." I basically told him that this guy, this is another deal, but I told him he was arguing about what play we should run. I just told him, "You don't want to be here. Get the F out of here." And we booted him out at halftime and got rid of the cancer. But anyway, let me rewind. So
sorry.
We're good. We just get beat by them. And so we have practice Tuesday. And I said to this player, I said, "Hey, I heard you think you're the starting safety. You should be starting." He goes, "Yeah, I think I should be." So I said, "Hey man, I got great news for you. Everybody here is going to watch you. We're going to go one-on-one. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to go one-on-one, and just like when I had a chance in 2002 to make the starting DN, Gainesville Thunder, I said, if you can defeat them 3 out of 5 times, you will start at tight end." Or did he want to play? No, he was a safety. So I said, "You're going to be the defender." So the first guy I put him against, no-win situation, Ronnie Foster. So Ronnie Foster runs like a fake slant and then turned it into a go, blew by him. Spencer Davis hits him with a rifle, and he's down the field 20 yards, and this guy's catch and win. So the next guy I put him against Neil Sherbein, fastest white guy I've ever seen. This dude, you're backpedaling, and as you try to turn around, he's gone. He's past you. I just said to Neil, "Run a 9. Just run a go, dude, and just run right by him." He runs a go. Spencer hits him at 30 yards, touchdown. So now he's 0 for 2. Now he's starting to feel the pressure. Everybody's giggling. They're laughing. And I'm not trying to embarrass him. You're talking shit in the locker room at Illinois State saying I'm a garbage coach, and I'm just trying to win, I don't need this distraction. So we line him up now against Jamal Ward. Jamal Ward is 260, 6 foot tall. He should not be able to, this guy was 180, 6 foot, good speed. He should be able to defend him. I told Jamel, I whispered pigtail. So Jamel takes 2 steps on a slant, breaks it out. It's kind of like the whip route in the NFL.
Yep.
I'm sure you've used this. So I hit Jay Ward in the flat, and he's not within 5 yards of me. So I walk over to him and I said, "I'm obviously now you're embarrassed. This is why you don't start at safety or corner. You can't cover anybody." And I'm yelling, this loud. So it's not just about teaching him. It's about them 60 guys buying into, I want to win. I don't care about people's egos. I don't care if you're my best friend. When we come in here, man, we want to win. So he checks his ego. Now comes the teaching moment. It's 95 degrees. And it's June, and I look at this kid, and I said, "Now, you can pack your shit like a coward and get in the car and leave," which I think you're going to do. "But if you're a man, I want you to go over there and stand at that goalpost for 2 hours for practice." Now, what man would do? I wouldn't do that. I'd have probably punched me, obviously, but he went over there and stood at that goalpost with his face against the goalpost like a little kid for an hour. And Spencer Davis comes and tugs on me because I'm a hard ass. I'm not going to let him off the pole till 2 hours. And Spencer Davis goes, "Hey, dude, I think you proved your point. Everybody understands that if you're not a starter, keep your mouth shut. If you're playing special teams, it's an honor. And that's the end of it. He goes, he learned a lesson. So I went over, grabbed him, and I said, hey, bro, I'm happy you're here. You're an awesome kickoff guy. You have speed. They can't block you. I said, go out there and make 3 tackles a game and make us the best special teams in the nation. That kid bought in, never said another word, and was like you said, Brent. TJ was a starter the year before, and DJ was a starter with Benson. And them guys, rarely played. But I'm telling you what, Benson separated his shoulder one time, and I think I had 2 injuries, and TJ and DJ both started in a game. And when they started, I think they both had like 9 tackles and 10 tackles and a forced fumble. And that is the thing that I think people lose track of. To win in anything or get in the playoffs, let alone win a national championship, you're going to have injuries. You have to have people that will buy into, I'm going to go play special teams and I'm going to be a badass doing it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, and coach, the thing, that comes into play later, right? I mean, if you have depth and you have talent, it's going to, hey, you know the story, and these guys didn't know it until I texted it to them. I didn't make it to the national championship game. I was in Havana with my transmission on the side of the road. Tony Mauder played the whole game, and every time I see Tony Mauder, he doesn't buy a drink in my presence, right? But the thing was, you had guys, today those guys just wouldn't buy in. Depth in the semi-pro was so important. And it was like dedicated depth, right? It wasn't show up on game day. It was 40 guys at practice. We were very close to that the first year of the Outlaws. Tony, you were there. I mean, I know. And I mean, we had a real broke down into positions, the skeleton against a full skeleton. Shit, it was great, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a big difference, man. I don't know how you turned him on that corner, but apparently making him go stand against the goalpost was a fucking thing to do. I don't know.
I'm gonna use that. That's why I'm gonna use that this year. I hope I don't get fired,
dude. I don't know a guy who was second string for the Outlaws who wouldn't have been in his car going fucking home. So
our second string guys weren't at practice, Brent. So that was never an issue. So
we didn't have goalposts either. So that didn't help either.
That kid was embarrassed, I'm sure, but you know what? He bought in. And the great thing was I really felt it helped our entire team, because those guys that were second string, and they were the ones I could hear them going, yeah, I started last year. I was all MFA. I was all this. I could hear that shit when I'm coaching, but, I really didn't care, because ultimately my job was to win every single game. And our defense was so good. We gave up, if you take all the games we played, and some of I think there was a forfeit 2-0 or something. But if you take all our games, our defense gave up 6.6 points per game for the entire year. And we went 19-2. I mean, that's insane, those numbers. And, thank God that not just having talent, but recruiting a few key guys. I mean, Jason Howard came over, was a Springfield guy, and he played outside backer with Seaman. And, we played that 4-4, and man, we suffocated people. We just said, and literally those guys know me that I coach with them. Literally, we would bring pressure every single play, because I felt like, man, I'm not going to get in a situation where they're 3rd and 2, If we're playing, you guys, you're going to run behind Brent Bordenkircher, or, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to get in those situations. So I always wanted to be in 2nd and 15. I wanted to be in 2nd and 18. I literally would blitz somebody every single play from outside linebacker inside, because ultimately, and that's the thing Dom can tell you, is the hardest thing quarterbacks have to deal with is pressure that they don't know is coming, in my opinion. So.
Mm-hmm. And you say that having never played quarterback, you are certain of that, right, Mike?
I've never played quarterback ever. I'll tell you one thing. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Coach. Go ahead.
The cool thing, everybody says, yeah, we had this great offense, and yeah, we had the best defense in the nation, but I really truly felt that we had the best special teams, because I truly felt like I'd been a special teams coach at high school, and I was the redheaded stepchild. I was, you get 10 minutes on Thursday. Yeah, that's all you get. And I'm like, I used to think to myself, you guys are bitching because our kick return sucks. You're bitching because, our kickoff team can't make any coverage. You give me 10 minutes on a Thursday? I mean, I'm not saying these coaches, I was better than them, but I am now. But at that time, I was like, what are we doing? You want to get better? Give me some time and I'll make them better. So, and Brent, you can attest to this. Jason Spang, who's now I think an AD.
That's the name I was trying to bring. Is that the guy?
I was going to mention Spang.
It couldn't have
Spang
been.
is 5 foot nothing, 5'6",
Yeah.
160 pounds.
God.
I think he played safety or corner at some college, one of them ICs or so. I don't remember where.
He played
But
at Eureka. He's a
Eureka,
Eureka guy.
that's what it was. Yeah.
Those guys. Yeah.
So Spang, was that guy that at free safety, he wasn't the fastest guy. He was not a 4.5 guy. He was not a big 200-pound. The guy I recruited my second year in 06 from, they called him Rock. Braha or something like that. He played at Illinois State. That dude was a friggin' hunter. He was a killer.
Yeah.
But Spang wasn't that guy. I mean, he gets on there and he'll say, yeah, Coach T, you're right. I wasn't that guy. But he had great instincts. He was super highly intelligent and just a great team guy. He literally would come out if I need him to come out. And I felt like I could put somebody else back there that was taller and it was around the end zone. He would come out. He would never say a word. He was a team guy. But the cool thing about Spang was he'd look over at me, and I'm tapping my head, let's go cover 2. I'm tapping this and I'm going, man, 2-man, I'm switching coverages. And he's like, yeah, he's nodding like, yeah, I got you. So
Benson, right? You had another
same as Benson, man. People say I'm this great coach. I'm blessed to have 2 guys on that defense, Bell on the D line, Benson at linebacker, and Spang at safety. That these guys were all very communicative. And you know what? The one thing I did try to do, unlike I think a lot of coaches, I would tell my guys, hey, if you see something before a play, we're in 2-man and you want to check out. Go cover 2, go whatever you want. You got to give guys freedom, man. If you don't believe in your guys, then, I mean, honestly, you probably should have better guys.
It's semi-pro, right, Coach? You don't have a radio in a press box, right? I mean,
No.
It's, if they're going to see it, know, I mean, that's a lot of leeway and a lot of responsibility and freedom to give them. Spang was a stud. He was like their version of Swick, just the guy.
He was Swick. He was, yeah, exactly.
Swick. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
so getting back to Spang, although he was, I think he was an all-conference safety. I think he had 9 or 10 picks. The best thing about Spang was he was so darty and so quick. He was a great punt return, great kickoff return guy. So I'm coaching arena football for the Quad City Steamers, and I met this head coach. He's from Texas. And I'm sitting there one night, and of course, I don't drink because I used to drink. And when I did, I became, I'm part Indian, so they used to call me Firewater Tonto. So literally, I would get in trouble. I seriously had so many battery charges. I had to pay $5,000, get them expunged, become a coach. Now you know the truth. But I got in so many fights because I couldn't handle my alcohol. And at 25, my dad's like, "Hey, dude, I'm a well-known auctioneer in this area. You either change your last name or quit drinking." So I quit drinking, obviously. So I never drank, but I can't remember the point I was making. This guy was drinking after our arena football practice at night for the Quad City Steamers. And I said, "Hey, coach, I'm head coach of the semi-pro team. I have a couple kick returns, but I just need something, man, that is next level." I said, "You got anything for me?" And he's got a wad of chew in. He literally would do a shot and a beer every other beer. I mean, this guy was the best alcoholic I've ever seen. He seriously was so drunk, but he was a great coach. He was from Texas. He coached 20 some years at 7A or whatever, them big ones, Plano or whatever, Texas. Oh. So he draws up on a napkin in the bar. He's like, "All right, you see this? Don't put 5 guys in the front row." He goes, "You put 4 guys. And then you put 4 guys in the second row. Then you put 2 guys. Then you put 1 guy back. Or you can put 1 guy up and then 2 back in case they kick it to the corners." Mm-hmm. I'm like, I like the 2 guys back because you got the left and the right covered. So, okay, what do we do next, coach? He's like, "You take this guy on the left and this guy in the second row, and they're going to block the number 1 on the outside. The next 2 guys got number 2 if you're going left and all the way, through 4. I said, "Well, what about the 5th guy, coach, from the kicker?" He's like, "Well, that's that guy in front of the 2 returners' job. He's going to get him." I'm like, okay. So I'm thinking this guy's like a mad scientist. He's got 10 shots in him and 22 beers, and he's drawing this up. And I'm literally watching this, and I'm like, there's no way in hell this works. And I'm like, how can you go left or right, and just do this, coach? What happens if they start cheating over? He goes, "Then this is why you're going to do this." He said, "Nobody," and I take credit. Everybody used to say, "Dan, Coach Tumbleson, number 1 team in the nation." We were to the 48 or 50 on every kick return the entire year. And everybody thinks I'm the mad scientist. Well, you know what I am? I'm the typical coach. you steal it from somewhere else.
Hell yeah.
I thought it was all
Absolutely.
Spang, Coach. I thought it was all Spang.
No, so yeah, it was a lot of Spang too. I'm giving him credit. Don't think I'm not. Jason, if you hear this, brother, you know I believe in you, brother. So anyway, we would go double up left and double up right. And then so the next part of the puzzle, he goes, you don't put, no offense, Brett. He goes, you don't put slow 300-pound linemen in the front row.
Thank you.
And I'm like, who are we going to put up there? I need blockers. I got to get this thing launched. He goes, you're going to put wide receivers and running backs in the front. Second row, you're going to put linebackers and running backs. If they onside or squib it, you already got the hands team there. And I'm like, this dude is awesome. So he says, when you get done going left return, right return a couple times, and you're just basically double teaming everybody on the left, everybody on the right, sooner or later, they're going to cheat. In the second half, they're going to cheat. They're going to crash from the other side. And so he would teach me, once you did it 3 or 4 times in a game, literally they would cheat so bad that the guy in the front left, he would start coming back like he's going to double up, and he would just come down. And it was usually somebody with wheels like, Neil Shervine or, Packingham or some stud like that. So anyway, we would run this wall return left, and there's nobody on the right. It's a naked. So we hand the ball off, and everybody cheats, and we run it for a touchdown the other way because everybody cheats, So it was an awesome kick return. Jason Spang is like a firefly. He darts in and out, man. You cannot block that guy with one guy. So that's how we were number one. I stole the thing from an arena football coach, and Spang did the rest. But those blockers, running backs, wide receivers, linebackers, dude, there's a reason we were number one in the nation. They did the work. I may have stolen the plan, but those guys executed. They were awesome.
Yeah, I can vouch for the fact that I was never on a kick return team, and thank you for that, Coach. That is a great gift.
I'll run behind you all night, baby. But yeah,
we did one time, Tony, right?
Brent, we were on punt once, and we very quickly told. I came up and played one game with the Illinois Red Devils, which was at the Davis's time.
Team, yes.
Was the Steel not playing right then, Brent? Were they on a hiatus?
I think Wendell Covert, I think he took them and did his own thing.
It was the Mid States and the GMFL, and I think Brian did his own thing.
Right. Because the Illinois Red Devils was essentially the best players from the Steel. At that time,
we just didn't have enough of them. We just did not have enough of them. People didn't want to make that drive. Yeah.
Brent goes and plays. Dom was originally supposed to play for that team. I was supposed to play for that team. I played one game. All I remember was I showed up to play the one game, and Brian, who knew me from semi-pro, looked at me and was like, "There's no way he's playing O-line." And I do remember after that he gave me a lot of praise, and that made me feel good. But Brent and I were on punt coverage. And we're terrible. And I'm not a big guy, but I'm not a defensive guy. And we go down and we cover this punt, and they get a huge return. And we come off the field, and Brent and I are both like, no. Find somebody else. We can't cover this punt. We are
admittedly,
terrible.
We were like that when we walked out. We were like, listen, they're going to get exactly what they paid for here. Tony is faster and more agile than me, and a worse tackler. So it was amazing how bad we were. It was amazing
100% worse tackler. Yes.
2 guys were just out there. Looked like they just hopped off the short. I'm surprised security didn't tackle us. Had no idea what we're doing, man.
No. And we did win. I think we won that game, though. Did we win?
There were a few teams that came down that we did beat. Packingham played quarterback for that team. Just another. It's amazing. Down in Springfield, it was so funny because it was the outlaw. It was the Outlaws turned into the Stallions and the Outlaws, right? And up in Peoria, there were like five teams. But it was always the Steel in 11-man.
They all came and played together for the Steel.
I think we lost Dom. He got tired of us because
he's probably getting a drink.
Yeah,
he's probably getting a beer.
That's right.
I'll tell you another what's that show called? The Last Dance type stuff where this stuff comes out and people get mad. So I love Wendell Covert. He was the owner that hired me.
Just
but
water. What the hell, Dom?
So after 05, won the national title. 06, we lose 2 games to the eventual national championship winner. So after 06, and I'm not saying this to trash Wendell because this is just exactly what happened, but this is the last dance. You're going to hear everything like it really happened. Wendell calls me up and he says, "Hey, we're going to move in a different direction next year." And I didn't look at him. I was on the phone, but I said, "Where? Down?" You know, we've never lost a home game in 2 years. We've won a national title and lost to the national title team in 06. So, I mean, I don't understand what you're doing. He's like, "Well, some of the guys, and this and that." So I'm like, okay. So the guys, some of the guys you like want to play and you guys don't want to win a national title. I was like, okay, no problem. I'm out. I'm out. I'm done. I'm not there to be buddy. I'm not a beer drinker. I'm not going to hang out with the guys. I want to win national titles. And if we're not, then I'm out, because why do it? You know what I mean? It just makes no sense. So I was completely shocked. Most players were shocked. And I was hurt. I won't lie to you, man. I was pissed. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? I mean, we went from John Johnson, this Brett Favre's quarterback coach, wins a Super Bowl. We come in and win a national title and you get rid of me in 2 years? I was pissed. But you know what I did? I said, you know what? I'm going to go coach high school football. This is just the deal. This is what semi-pro is. And I'm okay with it. Now, 4 years go by. The Mid-State Steel do not make the playoffs in 4 years. So this is getting good, right? So I'm getting all these players calling me, "Man, we need you back. We need you back." I'm like, buddy, I'm not coming back to an owner that doesn't want me there. I love you guys. I would bleed for these guys, man. There's something about, semi-pro, man. That's a tight group. And so I want to be there, but I'm not going to come if I'm not wanted. So the game 2, they lost. The guys are calling me. Game 3, they lost. They're more calling me. Game 4, man, they're talking about doing a mass exodus because it's just not good.
Right.
So there's now I think they were 1-4. Yeah, they were 1-4. And Wendell calls me and he says, "Hey, the guys, I guess, want you to come back and coach here." So I'm like, "Well, what's the situation?" Because at this time, I'm hearing we're not going to make the playoffs. I'm hearing we suck. I'm hearing a lot of bad things. He goes, "Well, we're 1-4, and the next 4 games are against the number 1 team in our division, the number 2 team, the number 3 team, and the number 4. And there's like 9 teams in the thing. So basically, we're 1-4, and we played the worst 5 teams. Are you kidding me?"
Thanks.
And I'm like, I told Wendell, "So basically, what you're telling me, it's impossible to make the playoffs." And he goes, "Yeah, basically, the guys want you back, but I'm just telling you, you're not going to make the playoffs." So I said, "It sounds like it's an impossible job." And he says, "Yeah, it is." I said, "I'll take it." So I'm in. I'm in. Let's do this. So at the time, I was coaching, helping out a little bit with the Quad City Riverhawks. I was their D coordinator, and they were done with a different league. And so I called a few of those players, the recruiting guy in me. I don't want a team. I want the team, So I start recruiting guys. I start talking to a few people. We start doing, we practice. And we go out the first game of the week. We play like the number 3 team, and it's out in freaking, BFE, Indiana, where is everybody going to travel? So we go out there, and, and I put in the I formation. I put all our plays back in, and, the shotgun 4 wide, whatever we need, 5 wide, Florida, whatever we need. So the guys, knew everything. So they adapted quick. We went up there. We were in a dogfight with this team, and we pulled the game out. I think we're up 7. And I think if I remember right, then we got the ball back, kicked a field goal, and then we were up 10. And so they have the ball. And this is the craziest play because this has nothing to do with the comeback and my coaching story. I'll just never forget this. Sean Bell's playing DN. And I would have my DNs, because they were so athletic, I would have them drop into coverage, and I would shoot outside backers in the C gap, and my ends would drop like the NFL, so we would get a few picks, or we would get, So Bell drops into coverage, and they throw a screen, and Bell just kept dropping. As the play develops, the guy's blocking. It's a late, kind of like a delayed, you would know this, a delayed running back screen where he blocks, you dump it, and it's, Katie barred the door. So they have a great screen called. Bell's 20 yards downfield, which is not what I wanted, but he is. So this running back takes off outside. He cuts back inside. He's running straight downfield, and for some reason, God bless him, he starts looking to the right. Well, Sean Bell's on his left.
Oh, boy.
And this guy is running full speed. Sean Bell is running full speed. When they hit, it sounds like a shotgun shell goes off. And I thought, honestly, I ran onto the field. I thought they killed the kid. I thought he was dead. And It was the loudest hit I'd ever seen. And I seriously thought the kid was going to be in an ambulance, but he was down 5-6 minutes and he ended up not playing, but he was, he lived. So
Right.
that was so we win the first game back and everybody's like, hey, we're back. And I was like, we ain't back. We got a long ways to go, guys. So we play the 4th ranked team. We beat them. We play the 2nd ranked team, which I believe was the Indianapolis SaberCats. And I mean, these guys were big on the O-line. They had 6'5", 300 across the board, man. We struggled. And we had Spencer was at quarterback. We had a few, things going on. But long story short, we won that game, and that was at Indianapolis. I said Spencer. Spencer wasn't the quarterback. I can't remember the guy's name. But anyway, so the last game we play, I think it was Lincoln Way. And if I remember right, it was Lincoln Way. They were like the number 1 team or whatever. And
Tony and I were
the
talking
Patriots. We were talking about that. We were talking about that team before you signed on, Coach. So,
So to beat this team, I mean, they were superhuman. They were like Lafayette Lions, in the 2000s with Notre Dame and Purdue players. I mean, they were loaded.
Yes.
So we're playing them, and Brian Davis rides up with me, and 6'5", like I said, 6'4", 270, Brian, and I'm like, hey, dude, I got this cool play I saw on ESPN, and he's like, don't do this to where you draw up a play and you put it in at the end of the game. Don't do that. And I'm like, no, dude, we're doing this. We're doing this. I said, it's going to work. We're going to upset him. I promise you. So I draw up the play where, you got the running back guards the quarterback. And, so I take that back. It wasn't 4 wide. We were in I formations, what we were. So we're at the end of the game. We're down, I think, 7. Yeah, we were down 7. And so I got the guys together and I said, here's what we're going to do. Davis is at fullback, tailback. I can't remember who that was, but I said, we're going, Sean Bell at one end, Jay Ward the other. We're going double tight. And everybody looks at me and they're like, Coach, we're on our 15. There's 2.5 to play. I said, yeah, you're going to have to go hurry up huddle, but we're going to go double tight. We're going to go stretch left, stretch left, stretch left, stretch right, stretch left, stretch right. You can cut it back, running back anytime you want, but follow Brian Davis until you cut. He's like, okay. They're like, this ain't going to work. And I looked at him. I said, it's going to work. And by the way, I said, we're going for 2 to win the fucking thing. And so then they're like, then they get the eye of the tiger and they start nodding their head like, yeah, we got you, Coach T. Let's do this. So we stretch left 8 yards, stretch right for 10. We stretch left. This one cuts for about 15. He cut it back. We go 8 plays down the field, use our timeouts. We score. There's 15 seconds left in the game. I walk out there and Brian Davis is shaking his head. This guy, he's looking at me and I have the play drawn up that I drew on the napkin on the way up there. And I said, we're going double tight. We're going stretch left. And Brian Davis is going to do like an angle, like almost like an angle arrow type thing.
Yeah.
Brian Davis is going to act like he's hitting the end and he's going to cut across the middle. The middle linebacker is going to fire. We've done I formation, stretch left and right for 8 plays. They're going to fire, I'm telling you. And Brian Davis is like, this is stupid as shit. We're running a play we've never ran. I'm like I've never done that before, guys. Come on. I'm the mad scientist. Let's go. So we run the play. And I'm going to say it worked to perfection. We won the game. Here's what happened. The middle linebacker, super intelligent, steps 2 yards forward and backpedals. Smart as shit. He sees Brian Davis. So the quarterback throws it. The linebacker tips it. It goes like this, one of those, plays on Friday Night Lights. And Brian Davis jumps all the way up, 6'4", and he has no vertical, but he jumps his 2-inch vertical, and he snags the ball, 2-point conversion, game over. We win. So we're in the playoff. We're in the playoff.
It's exactly how you drew it up.
Right.
Exactly. You got that play. You had to get that play off of Madden. That's that fullback, 45 degree, 45 degree. That's
hey, Brent, I tell you what, there's sometimes when I show our kids plays now, they fucking always, they're like, you got that from Madden. I'm like, no, I fucking did not. I didn't get anytime they see a play that's not like ISO, they're like, you got that from Madden. There's no way you created that. It's from Madden.
I love it.
That is great.
That's awesome.
So
hey, look, Brian Davis, he was fun. He was one of those guys that even as an opponent, like, you watched Brian, like you knew where 44 was and you were like, oh, look at that dude. Like, he's going to do something on this play. He was a hell of a football player.
It's crazy when I inducted him got to give the speech to induct him into the Hall of Fame. That was the last time in I think 30 years that people in semi-pro football game planned around a fullball. And I mean that's what we did. We're like, oh Jesus, what's Dave?
Where's Brian?
We got to worry about Brian. We got to worry about Brian. And it was nuts. Dom, you'll appreciate this. Those were the guys, Brian, Spencer, and Shane, in that first Outlaws Stallions game when we didn't have enough guys that I went and got them to sign and just said, wait, but show up. Please show up that day. And we didn't use
Stefik play too.
No, Ralph played. Stefik did not play.
Okay.
No, but it was Ralph. That was the four. That's right. Ralph.
Yeah, Ralph played.
Brian, Benson.
I remember seeing all the steel helmets. Yeah, I remember that. That was fun.
Well,
that was a fun day.
That was fun. That was fun.
A lot of fun memories of that day. Benson, Coach talked about Benson a lot. Benson was one of those guys that every time I played him in Epi too, you knew you were basically going to be in a bar fight. You were going to get hit a lot, but there were always guys that would hit you and then they'd be like, hey man, let me get you up, and they were fun to compete with. Benson was always a great player.
I'll tell you a quick Brian Davis story, and there's 100 of them, believe me. So this is how serious Brian is about semi-pro football. Number one, when we started in 05, this guy's my best friend. This guy would literally take a bullet for me. I'd take one for him. We would watch film 3 nights a week of just film and just not even us, just like NFL and just, he was a Neanderthal. I mean, he would never tell you he's a brain surgeon, but literally the smartest football player I've probably ever, just tell him anything once and you never have to tell him again. So anyway, this is how crazy semi-pro, this guy loves semi-pro. And Brent knows this. So I have my son, he's 7. He's 8 years old. He's playing in a travel baseball team. And his first 4 out of 5 years, 7, 8, 9, and 11, he's an All-American, plays in Florida. I mean, the kid is a way better athlete than his dad. I mean, way better than his dad. So this kid's a stud baseball player, and I've groomed him since he was like 4, hitting off a tee, in the garage, and now I have a training facility. But anyway, my son, obviously, just like you guys, kids, where they're the most important thing in the world. So we have a semi-pro team, and not just throwing this out there that I still love that guy to this day. Brian hasn't talked to me in, I think, 7 years because I had a game and I had to leave to go to this game. It was up in northern Iowa. It was the Riverhawks, and I recruited Brian to come play there. I was the head coach, and I called Sean Bell, I think I called Brian and said, hey, man, we're in a rain delay is what it was. Well, I was no longer with my son's mom. I had her 2 kids and my son. And so I'm raising 3 kids with no mom, which I don't want you to feel sorry for me because it's been the best thing in the world. But I literally couldn't leave my 8-year-old at a travel baseball game and just leave him there.
Right.
And so I called these players and said, man, this is semi-pro. I know I love this. I won a national title with you guys. I love you guys. I can't leave my son. And every player on that team, Sean Bell included, understood, and you guys would understand. You know what I mean? You would know you can't leave your son. I just didn't have anybody to take him home. And I didn't want to leave him, I'll be honest with you. That's my boy. It's I'm the first kid that's my son I've ever had. So I stayed, and Brian Davis never talked to me from that day forward. So being that backdrop that we haven't talked in 7 years, still love the guy, still one of the greatest players ever. And I still love the guy. I mean, I do. I love the guy. But he basically loves semi-pro so much that he shunned me because he's like, dude, you wouldn't leave your kid for me? This is semi-pro. Are you shitting me? There's nothing more important than semi-pro. That's what Brian would say. So
you got to remember, Coach, too, he was a walking stat machine. He would tell you Mark's carries throughout the game. Like every time we're in the huddle, he goes, that's like 7 carries for 82 yards for Mark. Like I'm in like day 3 of Navy SEAL, keep them up all night, just trying to remember a count maybe and remembering to block, and my name and all that. And he's keeping these stats. I think he's a little bit on the spectrum. And like I said, I love him, man. That's my guy. But I mean, I know he had to know the running back stats or it was all not, it didn't matter.
But it wasn't just the running back. This dude was like Rain Man. He could sit there and tell me at halftime, Jay Ward's got 3 catches for 72 yards. You need to get the tight end the ball some more. And I'm looking at him like, dude, do you got a piece of paper and pen on you? What are you doing? How do you know this shit? You know what I mean?
Every time.
So anyway, quick story. I can't remember the guy's name. Who was that? Oh, I know who it was. Is a great linebacker from Twin City Storm. Bald head.
Ridgeway, Chuck Ridgeway.
Ridgeway.
man.
Chuck,
Oh,
Chuck
yes,
Ridgeway.
Chuck.
Jeez.
Chuck,
Chuck
who's
is
played more
another-
semi-pro games than anybody in the world.
Chuck is probably still playing semi-pro right now. He's
Chuck
87 years
Ridgeway.
old, probably still playing.
If you told Chuck Ridgeway you're going to live one more year, I'm sorry, you're going to die tomorrow, but you can play one more game, he would play. That guy is just a semi-pro, just legend. I love the guy, and he played for me in semi-pro, and there's nothing I could ever say but praise for him. So anyway, I guess him and Brian had been talking shit. There was no, there might have been internet. I don't remember. Yeah, there had to have been. It was 02. But anyway, these guys are talking mad shit. Chuck says, I'm going to put you on your ass. Brian's like, hey, dude, I'm going to knock this guy's block off. You know, I don't want you to fuck around and go 4 wide. We're not doing Florida and 5 receivers. We're going I formation to start the game, and I want this guy. Do you understand me? And Brian's like, seriously, in my face, you know, I love the guy. He loves me, but he's like telling me, you're going to run the ball the first play of the game, and I don't want the ball. I want you to run so I can hit Ridgeway. I said, all right, I'll tell you what I'll do. The first play of the game, we're going to run I right 24 lead and tell Chuck Ridgeway to meet you in the hole. And literally, that was all over the Twin City Storm's, you know, blot or whatever. We're going to run 24 lead, and that's what's going to happen. So check this out. We run 24 lead, first play of the game. Chuck Ridgeway and Brian Davis meet, another shotgun blast. It sounds like, I mean, as hard as you can do that, man. I hear this noise. I'm like, holy sugar, what just happened? Chuck's like collarbone is sticking through his shoulder pad.
Yeah.
Broke his collarbone. True story. And one of them Brian Davis stories where, like, you know, you don't doubt it for a minute when you've been around Brian, but literally, you know, Brian just comes back there and looks at me like a serial killer that just killed his 18th victim. He's just like, yep. I need that. Keep doing that. We're going to keep running I formation 23, 24. He goes, now they got their second string in. We're just going to murder these guys. And I'm like,
Now they're on the run.
Brian.
Yeah.
Okay, Brian.
Jesus.
What the hell was
Never
Chuck
blocked as
thinking?
hard as having to block for Brian Davis. I'm telling you, just getting hit in the back by him was unbelievable. I mean, you would never, you had to be out of his way. Now, I was not good enough to still, you know, bulldoze, so I had to turn people really hard, or just get really killed.
And Brent will tell you, Brian rarely carried the ball, and when he did, or even if he was just blocking, if you were a guard or a tackle and you were in the 24 hole or 23 or 25, whatever hole we were going, literally he did not care. He was going to make a hole. So he would put his face mask and shoulder pad in the back of the lineman. I mean, I felt bad. I go, Brian, quit hitting our lineman, dude. You're going to hurt him.
Made us all better, man. Turned Malavolti into from a fireman into a lineman who was amazing. Got it.
Yes.
Every time I knew he was coming my way, it at least made me try to play like I was 28 instead of 35. Because God, I thought he was going to kill me. Brian was great.
He literally, and you guys, we talk about being a serial killer mentality. This is funny. I go over to Brian's house in Tampico, and this is, you know, off season, and we're sitting around and they're going to watch some football, and I look over by the TV and I'm like, what's with all the serial killer movies? And he's like, I watch them. What's the big deal? And I'm like, seriously, I mean, if anybody on the team could be a serial killer, that guy could be, because literally I watched him. We played the St. Louis Riverhawks or something. They'd won a couple national titles. They were super fast, super athletic, and we were in a dogfight. We came out in 4 wide because we just felt like they had some DBs we could manipulate. And we scored, I think, 21. We went up 21-7, I think, at half. And then second half, man, we were just tired. And we just basically, we were going to get beat if we stayed in 4 wide because we couldn't protect Spencer. We were getting too many sacks. And I said, hey, man, I love I formation, and I understand these guys have some men in the trenches. We might not be able to move them, but we're going to rely on Brian instead of, you know, running inside in the 2 hole, you know, and the 3 hole, or the 2 and the 3. Let's widen this out a little bit. So we had the tackles go right to the linebackers, and Brian started kicking out the end. So we ran it a lot in the second half. It was literally around 100 degrees and had the heat index was, I think it was like 115. It was stupid that day, which you guys know in July, sometimes it's maddening playing semi-pro. But literally, I remember Brian Davis. I think he had heat stroke. He literally, I never seen someone like water pouring down them, and it wasn't, it was sweat. We packed him in, I think, 10 ice packs somebody went and bought, and I thought he was going to die.
Oh,
but that guy, you could not take him out of the game, and literally, he would rather die on the football field than come out.
Salvo, you drove me home that day. That was similar from that Decatur game. Salvo, you remember that?
I do.
I thought I was going to die. I thought you drove my vehicle, and that's when he lived with me that short. That Decatur game, Aaron, 3-0 or whatever it was. It was like field goal at the last.
Oh,
yeah.
That's the game. That's
We're
the
at
game.
home wearing
Coach
the black
T,
jerseys. It's 112 degrees.
Coach T, you'll appreciate this. We
cramped
get
so
the
much.
ball.
I had to have Dom drive me home in my vehicle.
We stopped at McDonald's.
So we're playing the Decatur Bears. They kick off to us to start the second half. We get the ball. Okay, so we recover the ball third quarter. We kick the next time we kick an extra point to score on that drive to start the fourth quarter. We held the ball the entire third quarter.
Wow.
Running
I love
probably a 15-16 play drive where we just went. It was
Juice
nuts.
Williams at Ohio State, man. It was Juice Williams. It was like a 12-minute go for what would go for 2 or 3 fourth downs.
I love it.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was like a long field goal. It wasn't like a chip shot either. I mean,
No. That was we scored a touchdown there.
No. Okay, but that was that.
It was 10. That game was 10-7. We kicked a field goal to win.
They scored.
Yeah.
The last one was like a 50-yard field goal from Aaron Nelson.
Yeah, it was a good field goal.
It was like in overtime too. But
I tell my kids about that. I don't talk much about semi-pro, but I talk about that drive a lot. Just having the ball for 15 minutes, and then starting in the third quarter, and then you kick the extra point in the fourth quarter. It was nuts. Never had that happen before.
That's the most certain I've ever been that I was going to die, and I've been thrown out of the car in a car wreck. That's a true story. Dom's driving me home, and I think I'm going to die. I've stopped sweating. I can't catch my breath. It was wild, but
nice.
We're probably up against it. I think, right? I mean,
we are. Yeah, we are.
I'll tell you one last Spang story.
Got to be short.
We're playing Chicago Mustangs 14-14. It's like 20 seconds left in the game. They go to kick a field goal to win it, and I said, "Hey, man, I saw this in the NFL. Spang, get back there." And so Spang gets back in the end zone. I said, "Start walking out with the ball." So he catches it and just starts walking, carrying the ball. He gets to the 5, and we're blocking. He takes off left and then cuts it back right. We win the game at the end of the thing on a touchdown, on a kick return, on a field goal attempt.
He's
crazy.
Like
he was a dude, man.
Yeah, he's like a school superintendent now. I mean, kids look up to him. And Spang was the real deal. You'd never guess.
Got like 5 or 6 kids, man. He's fertile.
Hey, man,
awesome.
Coach. Thanks for everything you did for me back.
Thank you, Coach T.
Brent, I love you, man. I love you guys. I love semi-pro, and it's always just good to talk football. I'd love to come on again when it gets closer to NFL and talk some Bears and talk about their draft and stuff.
Hell yeah.
You can't. I would rather still talk about the 05 Steel, but okay.
Yes, I'm in.
Hey, I appreciate you guys. Hey, thanks, Coach, for coming on. Dom, it'll be AFL next week, and you'll be all
good.
over
It's good to
this
see you, Coach. I'm glad you're doing well.
Dom, nice seeing you, buddy. I got a lot
Take care, guys.
Yep. Take care. See you.
See you, boys.
Thanks, guys. See ya.
Take care.